Now we've had a little time to let all this soak in, Scottie Nell. I wanted to get your reaction.
Well, the fact that the Gang of 22 is saying that they are uniting against somebody that they don't believe is a conservative, I would like to ask them, where do you not believe what Mr. Trump is saying is not conservative? He wants to secure our borders. He wants to lower our personal taxes as well as lower the corporate income tax, which is the largest in the world. There is nothing that Mr. Trump is saying that is of the top three agenda items for conservatives.
I guess it's not so much what he's saying, but it's what he's done in the past. Let's also take a listen to something that Glenn Beck, one of the contributors to the Gang of 22, as you call it, he was on the O'Reilly Factor last week. Here's what he had to say about Donald Trump.
Do you remember when I used to talk about how the progressives were in the Republican Party as well? That's Donald Trump. Remember when I said the pendulum would swing back just as far the other way, and you'll have a guy who's a great showman, you'll have a guy who will say nothing just like hope and change, and you'll be for it? Warning. Do you remember those shows?
But look,
here he is.
You're taking
Donald Trump.
Well, then I guess Mr. Trump has done a great job of sitting there and duping people like Phyllis Schlafly, people like Sarah Palin, Ann Coulter, now Willie Robertson, add probably me into that corner as well. He's done a really good job. And obviously, what we don't realize what's happening here, what the Gang of 22 did last night, is they split the conservative party. And not only did they attack Mr. Trump, they attacked the millions that are following him. And a lot of those, I hate to tell them, are conservatives. So this does not help the conversation. Here's the other thing that scares me about this. I love that they unified. I think that's great. But where were they? Why can't we use this unity when it comes to things like defunding Planned Parenthood? Did I see all of them bonding together and devoting an entire issue of NRO online when it came to that? Or maybe actually when Senator Cruz himself was standing and doing his filibuster. Were those guys there to sit there and continue the conversation to block Obamacare? Or did they just throw Senator Ted Cruz to Mitch McConnell and the other real progressives and establishments within our parties? Because I don't remember them bonding together and doing an issue, an episode like this in that case either.
Scottie, so let me ask you this, though. What convinced you that Trump is a conservative? Or does that even matter to you?
It absolutely matters to me. But you know what matters the most to me is sitting there and having a country with secure borders that keep my family safe. Something that Mr. Trump has literally championed and made that at the top of the issue and the top of the priorities. It's also recognizing that our Congress is inefficient, our government is inefficient, and 1/3 of my paycheck is going every day to pay for that inefficiency. Something that Mr. Trump has championed as well. Now, all of the other issues, yes, we can sit there and talk about, but there is nothing that Mr. Trump has said currently.
So his past doesn't concern you at all? Because I'm going to quote from the article, right? So they say the real estate mogul and reality star has supported abortion, gun control, single-payer health care, a la Canada, and punitive taxes on the wealthy. That doesn't bother you at all?
So did Ronald Reagan when he was younger as well.
So
that's what gets me about
the past.
We can't evolve. We're not allowed to change our opinions as Mr. Trump has done. And I also like to look at actions speak louder than words. And you sit there and you look at what he has built. You know, we can talk about all these other issues, and I love my social issues. I love my my conservatism in that area. But if we don't have a country with secure borders and we don't have money to sit there and encourage business, it doesn't matter about social issues. I love what one of the pastors said this week when he said, you know what, I'm not voting for a Sunday school teacher, I'm voting for a president. And it's really hard to have faith in a country when you don't have a country.
That was Jerry Falwell Jr., and I think his father was the one who said, talking about Ronald Reagan the first time around, my big issue with what the NRO has done here is it's self-serving. I mean, maybe it is part of the idea to sell magazines here, but it sounds exclusive in its very nature. And as you mentioned, Scottie, it does. They've marginalized a lot of Trump supporters, and that's not going to help the party as a whole. And instead of attacking just one guy, if they would have unified around one candidate, perhaps maybe things would be in a little bit more clear for a lot of Republican voters out there who don't know who to pick between these two guys right now, or maybe they're thinking about somebody else.
Well, what I'm curious about is if Trump does become the nominee, are all of these people, the Gang of 22, as you put it beautifully, Scottie, are they not going to back Trump then?
Well, some of them clearly said they would, like Eric Erickson said they would support Trump if he does become the nominee, but, you know, it just doesn't seem like this is really going to do anything to hurt Donald Trump. And my guess, and what I predicted earlier today, that this snow is going to be around a lot longer than any kind of impact that's going to be felt from this National Review Online article.
Actually, I think it helps Mr. Trump because it's actually identifying, it's what he's been saying, is that the media is against him. Now, he hasn't called out the conservative media necessarily, but this is what it does. Here's the other thing. You hit the nail on the head. They sit there and once again show that we have a problem within the Republican Party, but they don't show the solution to it. That's what people don't want to hear. So this gang of 22 would have been great if they would have said, you know what, we don't like Mr. Trump, but we're unified behind this guy. They didn't. Now, granted, the majority of them are around Senator Ted Cruz, which I agree with, but they're still, they didn't necessarily uniformly come out of that. They just said, here's the problem without a solution.
All right,
That
Scottie,
is why Republicans have lost.
Stay put, because we still have a lot more to talk about. And joining us will also be Fiscal Times columnist Liz Peek when we continue our roundtable discussion. When we come back, we're going to be talking about whether or not this is just a two-man race, or can someone else in the GOP field capitalize on this feud between the frontrunners. We'll discuss that next.
Welcome back. Talk radio titan Rush Limbaugh has been keeping a close watch on all the drama on the GOP campaign trail. And here he is talking about the establishment's supposed gravitational pull towards Donald Trump and their distaste for Ted Cruz.
It is kind of coincidental, the timing. All of a sudden, these establishment types come out for Trump. And what it really signifies is their hatred for Ted Cruz. They just, folks, it's the most incredible thing to sit here and watch all of this. They literally despise Ted Cruz.
All right, back for part two of our roundtable. Scottie Nell Hughes and Fiscal Times columnist Liz Peek joining us right now. Good to have you with us, Liz.
Thank you. I'm sorry I had a little bit of a whoops.
Hey, it's all right.
Hey, it happens.
And we're glad to have you with us now. So, there is some skepticism out there as to whether or not the establishment and big money donors are really warming up to Donald Trump. Do you believe that they would really prefer Donald Trump over Ted Cruz if it really comes down to a two-man race, Liz?
Yes, I do. I think that they feel that Donald Trump has a better chance of beating Hillary Clinton than Ted Cruz has. I'm sorry I missed your last segment because I really think what's going on here is sort of amazing, because I can't imagine anything that would help Donald Trump more than having an entire faction of the Republican Party lined up against him and as in sort of firing squad mode. Here's what we know: the severely or extremely conservative Republican element, evangelical conservatives, is about 20% of the party. And what we're seeing pretty clearly is that Donald Trump is a much bigger swath of that party and also attracts a great many Democrats. So if people are lining up behind Trump, it really isn't about ideology. It's about winning. And I think this is something that really plagues arch conservatives all the time, is that they put litmus tests out there and they don't understand that it's better to elect Marco Rubio or even Jeb Bush or even Donald Trump than it is to elect Hillary Clinton. So, I think that's really what's at issue here. And, I really don't like litmus tests. I don't like this business of Ted Cruz talking about consistent conservatism. Here's something.
Well, if you ask Donald Trump, though, everybody's wondering what ended this bromance.
Yeah.
And if you ask Donald Trump, he says it's on Cruz.
He started it.
He started it all. Here he was on Hannity last night. Let's take a listen.
Well, I have to go with my own thinking. Don't forget, Ted attacked me, and then I attacked him. But he started. And he attacked me pretty viciously. And, first he was laying back, as we all know. It was, everybody, they said in the wake. And frankly, he attacked me, Sean. So, and I have a lot of respect for Mark Levin. I have a tremendous respect for Rush. Rush has been great for me. Rush has been so amazing. And Mark's been pretty good. I mean, Mark likes Ted, and I think he likes me.
So, Scottie, this fight, as you've seen, has gotten pretty ugly. But Trump saying Cruz started it. Do you think anyone's buying that?
Well, if you don't have to buy it, you can just look at the facts of it. Listen, these two were getting along, and it was wonderful. And I think that's one of the reasons why they got so much garnering. People don't want to see dissension right now. But remember, when that videotape was leaked out of the fundraiser in New York City of Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz actually slamming Donald Trump pretty harshly in those comments, that was really the first time we ever publicly heard Senator Cruz talk against Donald Trump. And I still have to wonder, how did that videotape get out? A journalist, Senator Cruz had to have known that was being taped, that somebody would tape it, but it got out. And that's right there, I think, with Mr. Trump. You have to understand, one of his big points is loyalty. And I think he felt a little bit betrayed when he heard, because I don't think Mr. Trump was going behind closed doors and dishing on Senator Cruz. So I think that's what started. But here's an interesting point. I have not seen the same Senator Ted Cruz that I've known for the last 3 years, these past few months. I don't know who's been whispering in his ears. You know, I'm a little bit actually, I'm a little suspicious, because it's the same campaign that used to be with Gingrich. And I think Newt Gingrich was would have made an amazing president. Now are with the Ted Cruz campaign, and they're following the same path. And all of a sudden you see this metamorphosis, because Senator Ted Cruz has not been the man I've been seeing. The statesman. Now I had a little bit of
statesman, Scottie Nell? The statesman?
The statesman,
the statesman who has everybody in Washington, D.C. So upset with him that they're talking about backing a complete wild card in the race.
It's not everybody. You know what? You can always tell the quality of a person by the quality of their.
But even Joni Ertz, when she was asked if she was willing to weigh in on a citizen issue, she said, "Well, I think this is better left to other people to have it sorted out." I'm surprised at the lack of. There's not one person, maybe Mike Lee and a couple other guys up there on Capitol Hill, that actually backed Ted Cruz and King from Iowa. But that's it, and it just goes to show you got to go to Washington D.C. and make allegiances.
But let me say this. Here's the thing.
We only got 20 seconds left. So
element about Palin, you didn't see that on Rick Taylor. That's what sit there and spar this up again.
All right, we're running out of time, but it was great to have both of you here. Liz Peek, sorry that we couldn't get our connection with you earlier, but we'll have you back. Scottie Nell Hughes, thank you both, ladies. Have a wonderful weekend. Coming up next, the World Economic Forum continues in Switzerland today, where global leaders try to improve the world. We'll have much more on that. Plus, we want to get your opinion on the National Review's takedown of Donald Trump. You heard what the ladies had to say. What do you think? Do you agree with the review, or is Trump your man? You can tweet us at Newsmax Now or leave us a comment on our Facebook page. We'll be right back.